For centuries, the European discovery of North America has been told through a single name, Christopher Columbus. His image dominates textbooks, monuments, and popular memory, celebrated as the man who opened the Western Hemisphere to Europe. But this familiar story hides a far older truth. Nearly 500 years before Columbus ever sailed west, another civilization had already crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and returned again and again. These were the Norse.
The racks are
For
empty,
generations, claims that the Norse reached North America were dismissed as legend. Many historians believed the stories were exaggerated medieval fantasies, tales of accidental landings, brief encounters, and quick retreats back to Europe. According to this view, if the Norse ever reached the New World, it was by chance, not design. Modern science now tells a very different story. New evidence reveals that the Norse did not merely stumble upon North America. They integrated it into their world system, treating its forests as a distant but reliable resource, much like modern nations depend on overseas suppliers. Their voyages were deliberate, organized, and repeated across generations. To understand how this was possible, the story begins in Greenland, the far western edge of the European world in the late 10th century. This was the age of Viking expansion. Scandinavian seafarers had already pushed beyond their homelands, settling the Faroe Islands, Iceland, and finally Greenland itself. In the year 985 AD, Eric the Red, exiled from Iceland for manslaughter, led a fleet of settlers westward into Greenland's deep, ice-choked fjords. During his 3-year exile, Eric explored the coast and discovered 2 habitable regions separated by vast stretches of barren ice. When his exile ended, he returned to Iceland with bold promises of fertile land and green pastures. The name Greenland itself was a calculated act of marketing, designed to attract settlers to a land that was anything but green. The gamble worked. 25 ships set sail. Only 14 survived the crossing. Those who arrived built farms, barns, workshops, churches, and even a cathedral at Gardar, Greenland's ecclesiastical center. Yet life on Greenland was brutal. Summers lasted barely 3 months. Soils were thin and unreliable. And most critically, Greenland lacked something the Norse could not live without. Wood. Timber was the foundation of Norse survival. Ships required vast quantities of straight, strong wood for keels, ribs, planking, masts, oars, and steering boards, materials that had to endure brutal seas and crushing ice. Houses, tools, barns, and weapons all depended on timber. But Greenland had almost none. Only dwarf birch and willow grew there, stunted shrubs useful for little more than firewood. And yet, the Norse somehow built ocean-going ships capable of crossing hundreds of miles of open sea. For decades, scholars asked the same questions. Where did the wood come from? How was it obtained? And how often did these voyages occur? A groundbreaking study by the University of Iceland has finally provided answers. Archaeologists analyzed 8,552 wooden fragments recovered from Norse farmsteads across Greenland. Using microscopic techniques, they identified tree species by examining cellular structures, growth patterns, and anatomical markers unique to specific forests. Most of the wood matched expectations. Some was driftwood from Siberian forests, carried to Greenland by Arctic currents. Other pieces came from pine and spruce imported from Scandinavia as trade goods or ship timbers. But 26 fragments stood apart. These pieces were made from oak, beech, hemlock, and jack pine, species that do not grow in Greenland, Iceland, or Scandinavia, and could not have arrived via ocean currents. Their origin was unmistakable.
The racks are empty.
They came from North America, specifically the forests of the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the Labrador coast. These were not weathered driftwood scraps. The wood showed clear tool marks from metal blades. The trees had been cut at their bases while still alive, selected for strength and quality, then shaped for specific uses. Natural drift was impossible. While Siberian wood can reach Greenland through Arctic ice, no current connects eastern North America to Greenland. To reach Greenland, this timber had to be cut, loaded onto ships, and deliberately transported across the Davis Strait. Even more revealing, all 26 North American wood fragments came from a single elite site, Gardar Cathedral, the seat of Greenland's bishop and its most powerful estate. This was luxury material, accessible only to the wealthiest households capable of financing dangerous transatlantic expeditions. The evidence points not to a single lucky voyage, but to organized, repeated journeys, funded by powerful Norse communities and carried out over long periods of time. This interpretation aligns perfectly with another discovery. In 1960, archaeologists uncovered a Norse settlement at Meadows, on the northern tip of Newfoundland.
To western lands,
Longhouses, workshops, and an iron-smelting furnace left no doubt, it was unmistakably Scandinavian. Then, in 2021, science achieved something extraordinary. Using cosmic radiation preserved in tree rings, researchers dated Norse activity at the site to the exact year 1021 AD. A known cosmic ray event from 992 AD left a global radiocarbon spike, allowing scientists to count tree rings forward with absolute precision. This made Meadows the earliest known European settlement in North America, nearly 5 centuries before Columbus. But the Greenland wood tells an even larger story. The Norse did not arrive once and vanish. They returned repeatedly, transporting timber and resources across the Atlantic for what may have been centuries. Meadows was likely only one node in a broader network of exploration and extraction. Medieval Icelandic sagas described voyages to forested lands west of Greenland, especially Markland, identified with the Labrador coast. These stories spoke of Greenlanders sailing west specifically to harvest timber. Once dismissed as fiction, these sagas are now supported by hard scientific evidence. Despite their skill and resilience, the Greenland Norse eventually vanished. By the 1400s, their settlements were abandoned, leaving behind ruins, worked timber, and unanswered questions. Norse activity in North America ended before Greenland itself collapsed. Meadows was carefully abandoned, no valuables left behind, suggesting an orderly withdrawal. Evidence hints it may have been revisited as late as 1145 AD, more than a century after its founding. Today, North American timber found in Greenland stands among the strongest proofs of sustained Norse presence in the New World. It shows that the Norse crossed the Atlantic centuries before Columbus, harvested and transported American resources, maintained long-distance connections, and preserved real history within their sagas. And as archaeological science continues to advance, more camps, voyages, and even settlements may yet be discovered, reshaping our understanding of the first Europeans in North America. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Until next time.